Hello and welcome to Vision Vibes. Today, we're breaking down the details of what if the world declared nuclear war, the goals we aim to achieve, and the subsequent implications on the global stage. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up if you're ready to explore this multifaceted journey with us. Now let's address our main question. What would transpire if the world thrust itself into the throes of nuclear warfare? Today we delve deep into this chilling query. A question that carries an immense weight that transcends the boundaries of science, penetrating into the heart of political, social, and humanitarian concerns. Let's dissect the apocalyptic power of a single nuclear bomb. Imagine a force so devastating that it can eradicate entire cities in a split second, reducing them to dust. It can scorch the earth beyond recognition, leaving in its wake a barren wasteland devoid of life. The air we breathe, once nurturing life, becomes a deadly poison, irradiated and toxic. The impact of a single nuclear warhead is not merely about mushroom clouds or radioactive fallout. It is the embodiment of absolute obliteration. Consider the potential end of civilization, our world reshaped by the horrors of nuclear war. Envision a world void of human presence, where our towering cities are now nothing but a scattering of rubble, our vast oceans turned into toxic soups, our verdant forests charred to cinders. The devastation that would follow such a conflict is almost too horrifying to fathom. As we grapple with this enormous idea, we must remember that this is not a dystopian fantasy, but a potential chilling reality that could dictate our survival as a species. The enormity of this possible reality brings into sharp focus the profound responsibility we bear towards each other and our planet. It speaks of our duty to safeguard future generations, to preserve our shared home, the Earth, from the unspeakable horrors of nuclear devastation. Our actions today may irreversibly affect our future. As we further investigate this topic, remember that this discussion goes beyond science. It's an examination of our very existence, the preservation of our beautiful blue planet, and the significance of peace and cooperation. The stakes could not be higher. It's imperative that we act responsibly and work towards global peace. The moment a nuclear war is declared over, the immediate aftermath begins to unmask itself. The fallout of this catastrophic event is far more expansive than what meets the eye. As the dense, choking smoke dissipates and the deafening echoes of explosions recede into a terrifying silence, the face of the world we once knew is irreversibly morphed into a dystopian landscape, mirroring the unforgiving world of apocalyptic sci-fi novels. Vibrant cities that once burst with the hum of everyday life are now hauntingly silent. Their skeletal remains submerged in ruins, reminiscent of the destructed city of Hiroshima after the 1945 bombing. The once thriving infrastructure that supported our modern society, from extensive transport networks, akin to New York's sprawling subway system, to intricate communication systems, not unlike the World Wide Web, is brutally decimated, turning into a skeletal framework that bears testimony to their past existence. According to a study by the International Committee of the Red Cross, a nuclear detonation in an urban area could result in millions of deaths and unprecedented destruction of infrastructure. Power grids, the lifeblood of our modern world, are rendered incapacitated, plunging the world into darkness. Water supplies, as crucial as air for human survival, are infiltrated with lethal contaminants, making safe drinking water a rare commodity. Basic necessities that were once taken for granted morph into precious rarities. The destruction, however, only scratches the surface of the catastrophe. The true horror lies in the human cost of such a war. Unthinkable loss of human life, with millions, if not billions, perishing in the initial blasts, their existence extinguished in a blink, as was the case with about 140,000 people in Hiroshima. Many more would endure severe injuries, from disfiguring burns to traumatic amputations, with hospitals overwhelmed by the influx of wounded and medical resources stretched to breaking point, much like the medical crisis occurred during World War II. The survivors would bear witness to the horrors of radiation sickness, symptoms that range from crippling nausea and vomiting to dramatic hair loss, horrific burns, and severe internal bleeding. The unseen yet deadly radiation silently infiltrates the body, often leading to a slow, agonizing demise, as seen in the survivors of Chernobyl. And then, there's the nuclear winter. As the fires from the nuclear explosion rage unrestrained and smoke billows up, sunlight is swallowed, causing temperatures to plummet dramatically. Experts say that a nuclear winter could decrease global temperatures by 10 degrees Celsius. This sudden drop in temperature, coupled with the fallout of radioactive particles, would lead to a catastrophic decline in agricultural productivity, with fertile lands turning barren, crops failing, and livestock perishing, much like the severe food shortages experienced in the aftermath of World War I. In the immediate aftermath of a nuclear war, the world would be flung into unparalleled chaos. Society as we know it would crumble as if made of sand. The survivors would be thrust into a harsh, post-apocalyptic reality, grappling to secure even the most basic necessities for survival. Indeed, the immediate aftermath of a nuclear war paints a bleak, terrifying picture. It is a stark reminder of the power humanity wields, and the potential catastrophic consequences of wielding it irresponsibly. But the immediate effects are just the tip of the iceberg of We're diving into a profound exploration of the long-term, devastating repercussions of a nuclear war. These consequences permeate far beyond instant decimation and have an incredibly wide impact. 1. Environmental damage. Unpacking the monumental environmental havoc a nuclear war would inflict, we start with the immediate devastation. But this isn't the finale, it's just the curtain rise for a phenomenon dubbed a nuclear winter. This is an extended period of abnormal cold and darkness ensuing a large-scale nuclear war, a result of airborne soot blocking out the sun. This severe temperature drop would render conditions unsuitable for farming, instigating widespread crop failure and a famine of unparalleled proportion. The destruction wouldn't limit itself to the land. Our air and water sources would be saturated with lethal radiation, birthing an environment hostile to most life forms, potentially even humans. 2. Genetic mutations. Moving on to the possibly irreversible harm to our genetic structure. The radiation fallout from a nuclear incident possesses the capacity to modify our genetic framework. This could trigger a surge in genetic mutations, leading to birth abnormalities and genetic diseases in future generations. Our evolution as a species could witness a drastic shift, veering us onto an unpredictable and possibly hazardous trajectory. 3. Economic collapse and societal breakdown. Assessing the economic repercussions next, we see that the global economy would experience a collapse of an unmatched scale. The annihilation of crucial cities, infrastructure, and primary industries would catalyze an economic plunge unlike anything previously encountered. Currency would depreciate as life's basic needs, food, water, and shelter, become rare. Shifting from an economic downfall, we consider the societal disintegration. Post such a calamity, societal structures and governments could collapse under the disaster's strain. Law and order could deteriorate into chaos, giving rise to anarchy. The fundamental principles of humanity could be forgotten as everyone is thrust into a frantic struggle for survival in a world bearing the grim remnants of a nuclear war. An important point to underline here is that these impacts wouldn't be confined to the nations directly involved in the conflict. The repercussions would be worldwide. Radiation doesn't recognize national borders. The economic downfall and societal disintegration would echo across the globe. And yet, the worst may still be to come. Even if we manage to endure the initial destruction and the subsequent nuclear winter, we would be left inhabiting a world that starkly contrasts the one we're familiar with. Each day would morph into a tireless battle for survival. Uncertainty would cloak our future. We would inhabit a world scarred and disfigured by the brutal consequences of nuclear. How do we endure the harsh reality of a post-nuclear world? And more critically, how do we regain what we lost? Survival in the aftermath of a nuclear event presents an alarming challenge. It's an examination of human resilience and adaptability, necessitating a comprehensive reassessment of our way of life. One promising strategy could be finding refuge beneath the Earth's crust. Deep underground, we might discover a sanctuary, a respite from the unforgiving radiation. We could repurpose existing structures like complex subway systems or expansive mines, converting them into makeshift refuges. But survival extends beyond merely finding a secure shelter. It's about acquiring the indispensable resources necessary for sustenance. In the unforgiving aftermath of a nuclear cataclysm, fundamental needs such as food, water, and medical supplies would transform into precious commodities. Scavenging would evolve from a primitive skill into a vital survival technique, as would the aptitude to cultivate food under these severe circumstances. Our accumulated knowledge on agriculture, hydroponics, and the study of fungi mycology would need to be harnessed to keep us alive. However, mere survival is just the initial challenge. The real hurdle lies in recovery and restoration. Confronting the monumental task of decontaminating our environment would be inevitable. Innovative technologies and methods would need to be devised to purge our soil, water, and air of lingering radiation. And this is merely the tip of the iceberg. Rebuilding shattered infrastructure, reinstating power grids, re-establishing communication systems, these are critical pillars in the process of recovery. This path to recovery would be neither swift nor effortless. It would span decades, perhaps even centuries, demanding colossal effort, substantial resources, and unprecedented unity. Cooperation would need to become second nature, sharing a necessity, trust a default. The road to recovery would be fraught with challenges, yet with resolve and unity, it's not insurmountable. Added to the physical resilience, the psychological resilience to overcome such adversity can't be overlooked. The importance of community and cooperation becomes paramount as we realize that survival is not an individual struggle but a collective effort. In the face of such trials, hope becomes not just a beacon, but a necessity. With this grim potential future, it's crucial to reinforce that this is a hypothetical scenario, a future we ardently wish to avoid. Yet it serves as a stark reminder of the enormous stakes if we fail to prevent nuclear warfare. Survival is possible, but it necessitates tremendous effort, plentiful resources, and unshakable unity. Given the dire repercussions, halting a nuclear war is the only rational path to pursue. In the intricate game of geopolitics, diplomacy is the key instrument employed to avert such a catastrophe. It embodies the craft of negotiation, seeking commonality, and cultivating mutual understanding amidst nations. By advocating peaceful coexistence, diplomacy endeavors to settle disputes before they snowball into full-scale wars. A vital segment of this mechanism is disarmament. The downsizing or eradication of nuclear arsenal marks a giant stride towards a more secure world. Disarmament's objective is to halt the nuclear arms race, reverse it, and ultimately, bring it to a full stop. It's about subtracting weapons of mass destruction from the scenario, rendering the world a less unstable place. However, this is not a solo mission. It calls for global cooperation. It necessitates that countries, irrespective of their stature or power, collaborate towards a shared objective. This is where global institutions like the United Nations step in. These bodies offer a stage where nations can unite, debate their disagreements, and optimistically identify peaceful solutions. The United Nations in particular holds a pivotal role in thwarting nuclear war. Through its various branches like the International Atomic Energy Agency, it scrutinizes nuclear activities globally, certifying that nuclear technology is utilized for peaceful motives only. It also enforces global treaties and agreements aimed at nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. But the responsibility does not lie solely with the governments and international entities. We all have a part to play in this. By staying informed, by spreading awareness, and by urging action from our leaders, we can aid the pursuit of peace. Because ultimately, curbing nuclear war is not only about preserving our lifestyle, it's about safeguarding life itself. Prevention is not merely a policy, but a survival necessity. Diving deeper into the prevention of nuclear war, the significance of diplomacy, disarmament, and international collaboration cannot be overstressed. Moreover, the importance of education and raising public awareness in the quest to prevent nuclear war, the prerequisite for transparency in nuclear programs, and the influence of technological breakthroughs on nuclear disarmament will also be explored in greater detail. In the face of such devastation, it's clear, a nuclear war is a war no one can win. We've delved deep into the harrowing narrative of a world declaring nuclear war, and the immediate aftermath would be nothing short of apocalyptic. Cities, once teeming with life, would crumble to ashes, instantly eradicating millions of lives in a single unforgiving stroke. Infrastructure would disintegrate, leaving survivors to grapple with a brutal, unforgiving reality where basic needs become luxuries. The world as we know it would be forever changed. A grim testament to the destructive potential of nuclear warfare. The long-term consequences are equally harrowing, if not more so. Nuclear winters would follow, an eerily silent aftermath of a world in turmoil. Lasting radiation would linger, invisible yet lethal, turning once habitable areas into hazardous wastelands. The scars of such a war would be etched into the earth, imprinted in the memories of survivors, and carried in the genetic of generations to come. Yet even in such dire circumstances, survival and recovery are possible. though the path would be long, arduous, and fraught with challenges. This isn't a journey anyone should have to take. The most important takeaway, therefore, is the desperate necessity of preventing nuclear war. The burden of responsibility rests heavily on the shoulders of every nation, every leader, every citizen. Preventing such a catastrophe requires concerted efforts from individuals, communities, and governments. Individuals must educate themselves about the perils of nuclear warfare, not in distant terms, but as a clear and present danger that could unravel their entire existence. Communities must foster dialogue and awareness about the deadly consequences of nuclear warfare. Governments, on the other hand, hold the reins of policy legislation, and they must steer the world away from the precipice of nuclear warfare. The importance of education, awareness, and action in this context cannot be overstated. We must understand the consequences of a nuclear war, not just as a remote possibility but as a reality we must strive every day to prevent. The path to prevention isn't simply about idle hope. It's about equipping ourselves with knowledge, strengthening our communities with awareness, and inspiring governments with decisive action. Let's hope that the world never has to face the reality of a nuclear war. For now, the best we can do is to understand, to learn, to share, and to act tirelessly to prevent such a disaster. As we wrap up this comprehensive exploration of what could happen if the world declared nuclear war, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this journey through the unthinkable. It's a topic that's difficult to grapple with, that challenges our comfort zones, but it's a conversation we must have. In the face of such potential devastation, it's clear that ignorance isn't bliss. It's dangerous. Knowledge is our first line of defense, our most powerful tool, and it's up to each one of us to wield it responsibly. If this video has provided you with some insight, if it stirred something within you, we urge you not to keep it to yourself. Share the knowledge, discuss it with your friends, your family, your community. The more people are aware of the devastating consequences of nuclear war, the more people there are working towards preventing it. And if you found this video insightful, remember to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Your support motivates us to keep producing these videos, to keep spreading awareness about crucial issues like nuclear warfare. So, go ahead, like the video, share it, and subscribe. Let's use our collective voice to steer the world away from the brink of nuclear war. Because in the end, every single voice matters, every single action counts, and together, we can make a difference.